G'day trendsetters, welcome to the next enthralling episode of Ask the Gravel Cyclist Crew a Question. We've got a very technical question here and it comes from some guy who reckons he's in Gainesville. I don't think so. Anyway, he writes, John, what do you reckon would be the most useful development for gravel riding? An Ultegra Di2 derailleur with clutch, an Ultegra Di2 derailleur and XTR Di2 compatibility, SRAM eTap with a clutch, SRAM eTap MTB, or a SRAM front derailleur that actually works. Oh, that's harsh. Okay, I would love to see Shimano open up their firmware so you could use the XT Di2 or XTR Di2 rear derailleur with a road front derailleur. That'll solve all the hassles of really muddy situations where a clutch is handy. Also, I'm hoping that SRAM's working on possibly a mountain bike version of their eTap, and if they are, I'm sure they're going to include a clutch because that'll be genius. As for their front derailleur, well, their eTap derailleur works fantastically. I can't really speak for the mechanical ones too much. I haven't ridden SRAM in a long time, so I don't want to say anything negative, but thanks for your question. This question comes to us from Gil of Eatonton, Georgia. This dude has written into us before. His question, which bike do you reckon is better for overall gravel riding? The Lynskey GR250 or the Monster Cross bike you built? Gil's referring to this crazy, basically drop bar mountain bike that I built. I'll link it here. It's not something I'm using right now, but anyway, he's going to purchase a bike in the next month or so, and he's having a hard time deciding between the new Lightspeed gravel bike, the Lynskey GR250, or the hybrid kind of crazy bike that I built up. I forgot to mention that that mountain bike also had a rigid fork. Honestly, the Lynskey is my favorite of those two bikes just because of the massive tire clearance it has, but the Lightspeed gravel is just as nice. So it's a hard decision to make, and sometimes budget comes into it. So that's my answer to that question. And his other question is Shimano Di2 that much better than mechanical shifting? Would you choose Di2 for some events and mechanical for others? Gil, Di2 has ruined my life. It's the only thing I'll use. Well, mind you, SRAM eTap is excellent too. But once you go to electronic shifting, it just works so much better. Say for example, cold weather, when you lose dexterity in your hands, you can shift gears, just tap a finger, you get a gear change, especially on the front derailleur when you have to do that motion. When it's cold, that's pretty hard to do when it's 30 degrees Fahrenheit. That motion, tap, much easier. Also, my experience with Di2 in muddy conditions, it's flawless. It just works all the time. Honestly, it's the best system out there, I think, and there's nothing to worry about pertaining to, say, contamination of cables and that sort of thing. So definitely, if you're going to fork out for one of those bikes, spring for the Di2. Thanks for your question. This question comes to us from Jonas of Sweden, and he writes, any gravel races or conditions where riders are running slick tyres? My understanding was that most riders use something like the Panorama Gravel King all of the time. He then writes, I rode my first longer ride with the 35mm Gravel King SK and he loved it. Well, Jonas, I've not seen many riders running slick tyres, to be honest with you, although I have ridden myself the Naxos Refuse tyre, which comes in a 40 and is pretty much a slick tyre. It works nicely, but it's not something I would use for, say, really tricky gravel roads. I think the tread patterns that these tyre manufacturers have developed are fantastic and help with grip and traction and such like that. So no, I mean, you mentioned the Panorama Gravel King tyre and you like it, so stick with that tyre. That tyre is a proven winner and one of my personal favourites. Thanks for the question. This question comes from Larry of Pennsylvania, and he writes, how do I get onto your mailing list? Okay, well, we don't actually do a mailing list per se. Snail mail is still out there, but if you're talking about our email list, there's a little box on the website. I'll point to it right there. Hopefully I'll line it up right. And that little box, you can sign up your email address, and every time there is a new article released to gravelcyclist.com, you will receive a notification. Now, I'm not using these email addresses to spam people, it's just for notification of new postings. So sign up there and enjoy the updates. Thank you. This question comes to us from Thomas of Wilton, Iowa, and he writes, what is the general consensus among the gravel cyclist crew on the most comfortable frame material for gravel riding? I've heard so many different things as to why this material is better and why this material is better. So before I spend any money on a custom bike, I'd like to hear your opinion. Thomas, my answer may not be kosher with everybody out there, but I love titanium. It is my favorite material for gravel cycling. It has fantastic ride qualities. It's also very resilient. It can take all sorts of abuse and punishment and rock strikes. And generally, because the frames are unpainted, there's nothing to worry about aesthetically, such as paint chips and such. I could go on in this discussion for ages because the other frame materials have some great virtues too, but titanium is definitely a strong one among the gravel cyclist crew. Thanks for the question.
Traveling in a freighter.